It's time now for Countywide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Join Paul David and Kyle Benedict as they talk with our community's leaders, newsmakers, and people in the know. You'll hear about the hot topics that affect all our lives in Yavapai County. And now here's today's Countywide.
Welcome to Countywide. I'm Paul David. As always, it is great to have you in studio with us today. We're going to say goodbye to one and hello to a new. Gary Johnson, Sedona Fire Marshal, is retired. It is official.
It's official.
January 5th of 2017.
Last Thursday I had my walkout, and Friday I cleaned my office and my truck out. I should have started earlier on my truck.
This might be the last time people hear your voice on the radio.
Very possible.
Huh?
Very
Depending
possible.
on what you've got planned in the future, of course.
Or don't have planned. You know, you never know what opportunities will present. So,
Right. So, we may hear Gary, but we've been hearing Gary now for, at least I have, for 23 years now.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And then we've got the new guy, Deputy Sedona Fire Marshal John Davis. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
The new Gary.
The new Gary.
Yeah.
I'll never be able to replace Gary.
No,
I'm
nobody
just gonna
can.
Throw that out right at the beginning.
But I'm sure John's got his own personality and everything else, so I'm sure we'll get along great. So first we're going to talk to Gary, and then we're going to talk to John. We're going to get some background. Gary, you've been with the Sedona Fire District I want to say your entire fire career.
Correct. I started as a volunteer in 1978.
Okay.
Somebody asked me, just came up one day. Somebody
Really?
just said, would you like to join the fire department? And I go, well, what do I got to do? And we talked for a few minutes, and I went to a meeting to see what it was like. And here it is, almost 40 years later, I'm retiring from it.
That is crazy. Why would they ask you?
Well, that's because, to be honest with you, you know what I thought it was? Because when I showed up, I was the youngest guy there. And then I got convinced it's because they needed somebody young to load fire hose in the back of the fire truck.
Gotcha.
Gotcha. And so I would tease the gentleman, his name's Denny Mandeville, he's still around, and I would tease Denny, you wanted me to join so I could load fire hose.
Yeah.
And he would just smile.
Take care of the heavy lifting. But you know what? I want to backtrack. There was the first question I wanted to ask you was completely different, and I got off track there right off the bat. We had a firefighter injured in an explosion and fire in Oak Creek Canyon at the station there near Indian Gardens. What is the current condition?
The firefighter, who's Captain Matthew Fleece, he has been released from the hospital. He's currently doing PT. In fact, he was at my walkout, and he's progressing very well. He ended up getting some burns on his arms, his hands. Okay, he looks like he has a pretty serious sunburn on his face, but that's pretty much the extent of it. So now he's going to go through the PT, that physical therapy, to get that work that flexibility back in, because that's the challenge. And so the events that occurred, it wasn't actually an explosion per se. What ended up happening is that all of your little barbecues, those little 5-pounders you have underneath, they have a pressure relief valve that's spring-loaded. It got too hot, it vented. When he picked up the can, the tank itself, that's when it flashed. So the tank itself was intact. It's just that it was a flash. And then, of course, it started a fire, and that's when he got burned.
Gotcha. Okay, but he's on the road to recovery, doing just great.
He's on the road to recovery, and he looked pretty good when I saw him last Thursday.
All right, very good, very good. So I wanted to make sure we took care of that first. Now we'll get back to your retirement. So you did your walkout. Is that what firefighters call it?
It's a walkout.
It's a walkout.
A formal ceremony.
Okay.
In which they honor me, my family.
Let me see your left hand, your left wrist. No gold watch. Where is it?
I got a bunch of cool things. I've got one of the things they gave me was a firebox.
Okay.
Like you would see back east.
Okay.
And it's fully operational. Looks really cool.
Okay. All right. So memento there. All right. Cool. Let me ask you this: what are some of the biggest changes you saw from the first day that you became a firefighter until you retired? What were some of the biggest changes you've seen over the years?
Well, I think some of the biggest things has occurred back when I started. Well, first of all, we were a lot smaller than we are today. And what I'm getting at is...
Was it a department? When you started, was it Sedona Fire Department?
Nope.
No.
I joined the Sedona Red Rock Fire District.
Okay, all right.
And that basically was on the Yavapai side of the general Sedona, the greater Sedona area.
Okay, gotcha.
And the county line split us, and then we also had the Sedona Oak Creek Fire District, which was on the Coconino side.
Oh,
So
okay.
when I started, that's how we were. And I actually, when I joined, I was out at Station 3 out in the village, because that's where I lived the first year that I was here. I relocated back into West Sedona, and then I worked out of Station 1. So that was kind of the start. And then over the years, they started working together. And till ultimately, we actually had to have legislation changed so that we could actually become a fire district over county lines.
Oh, okay, all right. And do you remember what year that was?
Boy, I want to say mid-'80s.
Mid-'80s? Okay, all righty. So I would imagine then the stations in Oak Creek Canyon, there's two of them there, right? And two in Oak Creek Canyon. There's one up there by Indian Gardens, and then there's one further up where Don Ho's Cabins used to be. And I don't remember who owns it now, but there's two.
Well, there's actually, when we first started, there was three.
Okay.
Okay, there was the one at Indian Gardens.
Okay.
There was one up at Junipine. And then there was one up at Don Holes, which is now Butterfly Gardens.
Okay.
The one at Junipine has been turned back over to the Junipine folks because they actually owned it.
Is it sit across the road from them?
It's across the road.
Oh, that's what that little building is.
That's what that little building, and then they use it as a maintenance building. Okay,
right.
so that's worked out. We still own and control, I'm going to use that term for the one up at Don Holes, and we use that as it helps with our radios. We have some radio equipment in there, and we also use it as a parking garage from some time, depending on what we need. The Station 5, which is at Indian Gardens, is a fully staffed station.
Okay, all right.
And then, of course, the Station 4 uptown also belonged to Sedona Oak Creek.
Oh, that's right, right. The one in Uptown Sedona. I forgot about that one.
So
Then we got the one on Chapel as well.
When that's new, but we have the one on Chapel. So it used to be back when I started, if you wanted to go to a fire in West Sedona, I'd have to drive through another fire district to get there.
Oh, I'll be darned.
Okay, but they got together, and it took a little while, but they ultimately merged to the Sedona Fire District that we know today.
I think one of the biggest maybe changes for you guys too was that is it much EMS back then as it is now, or was it mostly okay? There's a fire, or there's a flood event, or something's going on, and so Gary and the crew head out for that. But did EMS? I mean, EMS has increased dramatically.
Yeah, EMS today is like, it runs, it used to be like they'd say 80%, not uncommon for it to see closer to 90%. EMS is a substantial part of what we do. And we have what they call fire-based EMS. Our firefighters, there are ambulances, so they end up, so you may get someone who works on a fire truck one day, and next shift he's working on an ambulance. So it's the same people, and they respond together as a team.
Wow, okay. And then we've got a few minutes before we have to take our first break. What's in store for Gary now?
Well, one of the things, I teach at the college. I plan on some fire science classes. I plan on continuing that. My wife and I would like to, we have our son-in-law's in the Army, and so we have our youngest daughter and our youngest granddaughter over in Germany. So when school's out, since one teaches and the other one's in school, when school's out, we're going to go over and visit them for most likely, well, I'll say a month or so, depending on how it works out. So that's one of the plans. And then the other is to maybe travel a little bit. We'd like to go down to San Diego and kind of head north. We've done part of it, but on short vacations, it gets a little hard. So we're just going to go and we'll stop where we stop, just kind of drive up. And until that happens, I got a honey-do list. In fact, one of the things my wife got for my retirement is a nice board. It's about about 1 by 4, and on the top it says honey-do list.
Oh,
okay,
man,
and
I'm dreading that.
And she's got some stuff written on it, and already, which is cool.
Yeah.
So so that's kind of how the start is, and then of course we'll see what happens.
Right. Okay. All right, let's take our first break. Retired Sedona Fire Marshal Gary Johnson in studio today. We're going to talk with Deputy Sedona Fire Marshal John Davis when we come back from the break. Stick around. Countywide back in just a couple minutes.
Me and my boy Matt had it good. He had catnip that was off the hook. But one day, he brings a girl home, and she's allergic to cats. Every sneeze was a nail in my coffin. Now I'm in a shelter. It's decent, but they don't even have Wi-Fi.
I'm Jenny Garth, and as a mother of 3, I know kids worry about a lot of things. Getting enough food to eat shouldn't be one of them. But here in America, that is a real worry for 1 in 5 children. Even though we are one of the most food-rich countries in the world, 15 million children don't know where their next meal is coming from. This is unacceptable, and something the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks is working to solve. Instead of accepting that our country lets billions of pounds of surplus food go to waste every year, Feeding America has made it their mission to help families in need by rescuing this food. Through food pantries and meal programs, the nationwide network of food banks provides more than 3 billion meals, serving virtually every community in the United States, including yours. Join me in supporting Feeding America and your local food bank by visiting feedingamerica.org. Together we can solve hunger. Together, we're Feeding America.
Welcome back to County Wide. Great to have you along. Our retired Sedona Fire Marshal Gary Johnson in studio today. Our Deputy Sedona Fire Marshal John Davis is also here. We introduced you at the very beginning, but now we're going to find out about John. So what's your story, John?
Well, I have over 31 years in the fire service. I come from a small town in Oregon, Lebanon, Oregon. It's about halfway. It's in the Willamette Valley on the western half of the state. It's about halfway between Salem and Eugene. I started out as a volunteer in 1985 with the Lebanon Fire District, and 3 years later, after I got my paramedic certificate, I was hired full-time. I spent the first 20 years of my career in the suppression side as a firefighter paramedic, and then the last 11 plus years I moved over to the prevention side, and here I am.
Here you are.
Here I am.
So you heard about the job, or how'd you find out about it, and decide to come to Sedona?
I saw the job posting on. There's a website called the Daily Dispatch, and it's customized to each state. So there's the Oregon Daily Dispatch, the Arizona Daily Dispatch. Anyway, it has some news stories from the state, and then some national news stories. And at the bottom, there's some job postings, and I was looking down there, and I saw Sedona. And
had you been here before?
Never had been here, didn't know anything about Sedona.
Okay.
And I asked my wife, I said, I'm thinking about maybe looking to make a change. And she said, sure, let's try it. We both were raised in the Lebanon area, had lived there all of our lives. So we said, let's see about having a little adventure. Applied for the job and was hired, and here I am.
Yeah. How long have you been in the area now?
I have been in the area since the middle of October.
Okay.
So not long.
And?
Love it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What have you been doing, you and your wife?
We do a lot of camping. Mm-hmm. However, while we were house shopping, we were living in our RV at the Thousand Trails just outside of Cottonwood here. And we bought a house that's only 3 doors down from Gary.
Oh, really?
So I said he may come to regret my decision to buy a house that's only 3 doors down from him, because
For sale.
Yeah.
Gary leaves.
Yeah. Because I'm sure I'll be down there knocking on his door, asking him questions from time to time. But anyway, we like to do a lot of camping. We're really looking forward to exploring the area. The neat thing about Sedona is the town that I come from is a small town, 15,000 people. Everybody knows everybody. Everybody is friendly. When we get to Sedona, it's just the faces have changed. That's all. Everybody knows everybody. Everybody is friendly. It's beautiful. In Oregon we've got our own beauty, but this is a different. The Red Rocks. We don't have that. And I am not regretting my decision one bit. It's nice to be here.
Now, when you came, Gary, what were some of the kind of the key things in the Sedona area? Oak Creek Canyon. I mean, there's I guess what I'm looking at is I see the potential for flooding, the wildfire issue, things like that. So, what were some of the things you guys had to kind of come together on to make sure he knows exactly what this area is like?
Well, and let me bring up a really good advantage. During the testing process, they had had to answer 6 questions as part of their application.
Oh.
And those were some of the challenges facing my division at the time. John's been through most of those, so that was a great benefit.
Oh, really? Okay.
And then the other thing is I won't say we've been everywhere, but we've been to a lot of different places. And so, as opportunity presented itself, we've been up the canyon, we've talked about the crossings and things like that. We've been out through the village, we've looped around a bunch of different places so that he gets at least a little bit of a feel of what's going on. And then, and to be honest with you, in the last, since he's been here, some of those events have occurred. We haven't had a wildfire, but we've had the flooding and some of those issues. So, it's given him a little bit of heads up on what's going on and made it work out pretty well. Plus, we've had some pretty good-sized projects come along a little bit, get started, so he's got a little feel of that. So, since we've been introducing him to everybody, we've been going around and seeing the chief engineers, the building officials, the folks, and getting a little feel of what it's like. And of course, a couple months isn't enough, because even I'm going, that sure came quick, but, get him that feel. So, I'm confident that he'll do a great job. He fits in. He has that real positive attitude, and I think that's what it takes to do this type of job.
So you got here in November?
October.
October, okay.
Yeah, middle of October.
Okay. What's your wife thinking of the place?
She loves it.
Yeah?
Yes,
Yeah.
she is just as taken with it as I am.
It could be a job, the Sedona area. I mean, right now, it's it used to be, when I was a kid, it used to be that Sedona was one of those places that, 9 o'clock at night, not even 9 o'clock at night, 6 o'clock at night, the sidewalks rolled up and the lights went out, and there were 2 stoplights in town. That was it. But it's a different world up there now. I mean, it's year round. It's a tourist destination. So is that something that you're going to have to kind of look at? Because did the area of Lebanon, Oregon, was it a big tourist destination?
Not. There was very little tourism, and that is one of the things that we have come to realize, that Sedona is not just a local or a regional destination. It is an international destination.
Yeah, around the
There
world.
are, it's amazing the number of foreign visitors that you see on the streets. And so that is a huge change. Sedona is slightly smaller than Lebanon, but when you look at the number of visitors, that Sedona, 3+ million visitors a year to the Sedona area, we didn't have that. So that's a big challenge. The thing, as Gary said, going around and meeting a lot of people and visiting all the places, something that I took for granted in Lebanon, where I came from, was all the institutional knowledge that I possessed. I knew the problems with certain buildings, I knew the owners, I knew which buildings had sprinkler systems, which didn't, if there was any peculiarities to certain systems or buildings. I knew all that. I come here, I don't know any of that. Gary has 39 years of that institutional knowledge. And like he said, 2 weeks is not enough to pick up all of that. And that's why I say he
kind
may
of exciting
regret.
Though for you, right? Kind of exciting, right?
It is. It's learning
new,
a whole
right?
new ball game.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very exciting.
We can get pretty comfortable in our jobs, and then it's not so much work anymore. So, throw John to the wolves and make
I
him
am
learn it all
now.
over again,
After he left last week, it's this week. In fact, I told Carla, our secretary, that boy, it feels like I'm trying to keep my head above water right now. So.
Good.
It'll get better.
Yeah, good. All right. Let's take our second break, okay? Retired Sedona Fire Marshal Gary Johnson in studio today. Deputy Sedona Fire Marshal John Davis in studio as well. This is Countywide. We'll be back in just a couple minutes.
It's your home, it's your dream. Radon testing, keep it healthy and clean. Make it green, green, green.
Making it green is making sure the air in your home is healthy for your family to breathe. Make sure you test your home for the presence of radon. It's easy. To learn more, call 866-730-GREEN. Preserve your family's health and well-being. Get your home tested. Now that's living healthy and green.
Green, green, green. It's your home, it's your dream. Radon testing, keep it healthy and clean. Make it green, green, green.
To learn more, call 866-730-GREEN.
They said I have troll teeth.
That my voice sounded like a possessed baby doll.
That no one would ever love someone as stupid as me.
That I was fat, ugly.
Disgusting.
The effect of bullying is potent.
We will no longer be the silent majority.
Now, when you see online bullying, there's something you can do about it.
We're gonna take action with the I.
I am a witness.
I am a witness.
I am a witness.
I am a witness.
I am a witness, and so are you.
Welcome back to Countywide. We have about 3 minutes left in the program. Real quick, let's talk a little shop. I've noticed this year the winter storms have been kind of the same, where we've got this warm weather comes in first, and then at the tail end of it we get this snowfall. And we've only had one big snowfall so far. That was like 14 inches back on Christmas Eve. But we noticed that the week after that, the storm that came in was a warm one. We've been having, it seems like, more and more of these warm storms, so it melted a bunch of that snow. And then Oak Creek Canyon, of course, we had some minor flooding going on. Do you guys see that as something we got to watch for the rest of the spring, summer? I guess the spring, I should say, winter and spring.
I would say absolutely. Because here's what's happening. We're seeing that creek come up, and throughout Oak Creek Canyon, and there's other areas, there's a lot of low water crossings. Mm-hmm. And what happens is we get comfortable. You know, you drive through it, you can't see the bottom. You know, maybe some rain came along, and you get comfortable. But just remember, water's only just got to get to the bottom of your vehicle. It'll float it, and then down you go. We've already had some rescues over in the Rimrock area.
3
that have been involved, and fortunately, those people were able to get out safely. But that water's got a force that is unbelievable. And so, you know, you've really got to pay attention. So I really stress, pay attention to the weather. That's important. You hit the nail on the head. We get a cold storm come in and put snow. All of a sudden, so that snow level's, let's say, at 6,000 feet. And then we have a warm storm that comes in and the snow level is 7,000. That rain is going to melt that snow, push that water into the creek, and it's going to rise. And so it's going to come up quickly. It could very well come down quickly. But that's why you've just got to use, I'm going to say, common sense. Otherwise, you're going to get yourself in a situation that's going to require a rescue. And you don't want to be in that situation.
I think we have to remember that although it is not raining maybe here, it is raining up north, and so that has to come downstream. I always go back to 93, because 93 was such an impressive flood year, where Flagstaff area had so much snow, and then the month of February was like this tropical thing that came in, John, and it was just, it rained for days. And I remember at the time I was a DJ, and we were raindrops keep falling, you know, we're playing songs like that thinking it's kind of fun. Well, after about 2 weeks of that, and the flooding that started, it wasn't funny anymore, so. Yeah, we got to pay attention to that stuff. Watch for the flooding.
And we really need to pay attention, and I agree. Mm-hmm. Think about the bridge at Tlaquepaque.
Yeah.
I've seen it where the water's been to the bottom of that bridge.
Mm-hmm.
And so it can happen, it's going to come up quick. You need to be prepared. And so I kind of jokingly comment, what side of the creek do you want to be on? So if you live on the other side of the creek, and the only way to get it back is a low water crossing, be prepared. Have the stuff that you need so that if you end up spending a couple days, you're not in that pickle where you feel you've got to go somewhere.
Right. And cars are so much lighter these days, too, that I think it takes probably less water to pick up some of these SUVs and stuff you see.
All it's got to do is get to the bottom. All it's got to do is get to the bottom of that frame.
Yeah, just lifts them right up.
It will float it, lifts it. Once it does that, bingo.
I'm a little surprised at how many rescues we've had this year. We've had 3 so far. I know 2 was over in the Rimrock area. Dry Beaver Creek and Beaver Creek were both. There were rescues there. And then there was a third one, and it's slipping my mind right now. But we've had 3 so far, which is kind of surprised. That's it, Gary.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming in one more time
bet.
for me. Hopefully we'll see you again. I'm sure we'll see you again. John, great to meet you.
Good to meet you.
Thanks for coming in. And if I need something, I will be calling you very early in the morning. Okay, that is today's Countywide. Thanks for watching and listening, and we'll talk to you again next time.